Hi and welcome, I'm Simon, this is MILLOTECK, a brand new channel. I'm here to help you make better choices in tech today. Coming up on this channel, it's all about CPU cooler. This one in particular, AS500 from DEEPCOOL. Now, I was given this motherboard, AORUS AX370 Gaming K5 from my brother as I upgraded his rig a couple of weeks back. Now his rig is mid-performance, you know, I put a 5600X in there, 6600 XT, graphics cards, a B550 from AORUS. Now that was a really nice motherboard to work with. You know, it's running really well, and the 5000 series CPU seems to be running really fast at the moment. Unfortunately, this board can only support up to 3000 series, which isn't really a problem, as it's going to be my second rig, as I had a tower kicking about, which is down there. It's more going to be a BLING rig more than anything, to be fair. It's only got a 1600X chip in there at the moment. We've only got 8 gigs of RAM. Will I upgrade it? I'll upgrade it a little bit. What I did purchase for this particular rig was the AORUS 512 NVMe M.2, which is just here. It wasn't going to be about anything about this setup. It was just going to be about this cooler and installing this. But while we're at it, we might as well install this as well. Why this is so nice and why this will fit really nicely in here, it's RGB. So the heat spreader has got a light in the logo on the chip itself. I didn't really know how to do the fitment. I didn't check anything. I just looked at review. Seemed to be a good cooler, and like I said, very surprised at the size of it. So what we'll do is we'll get it unboxed and we'll give it a fit onto the motherboard. Right. So it wasn't my puppy at the door. It was actually the postman giving me some more parcels, which was quite nice, really. I like parcels, I like gifts, I like when I buy myself things, I become Santa. Right. Now, so, this on there, as I was saying, I'll switch over to the top view now, and then we can get going. Right, as you can see, we've got to open the box here, find out what's inside, have a bit of a look around. So we've opened the box now. We can see this small little box inside. To be honest, these are the 2 screwdrivers. The only probably would need to do this install of the fan, to be honest. But we'll have a look. And there it is. Bit of foam packaging. It's in there quite well. So it's packaged definitely very well. I'm quite impressed with that. So let's get out the box. Let's get that out the way. And for me, let's just tidy up a bit. I don't like mess normally. So let's have a look what's inside the little box. Right. We've got some instructions. Nice. We've got a little packet of bits. We've got it looks like a remote control. We'll have a look later and see what happens with that. RGB. We've got a bit of a mount for the back plate. That's probably going to be for... Yeah, by the looks of it, we've got 2 sets of plates. Well, we've got one back plate that's already fitted to the motherboard, and we've got a second there. So we've got AMD and Intel by the looks of it. So yeah, AMD and Intel bags, and that back plate's going to probably fit to either the AMD or the Intel. We'll have a look a bit later. We've got some second brackets as well. They look like to fit another fan on this. I mean, you can see now, you can see the two clips to the side fitted to the radiator. The top of this fan is fully RGB, and it's a lovely looking fan, to be honest. CPU cooler, you know, it's big, the surface area is good, so for cooling it's going to be ideal. But as you can see, these two side pins can't fit on the motherboard, you know, and then, you know, looking at them packets that came with the CPU cooler, you know, they need to fit to the motherboard somehow. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to have a bit of a look at the instructions. As you can tell, I've already done this bit and I already know what's going to happen, but I thought I'll try and talk along to the video. So for me, at this present second in time, the instructions basically tell me that you know, it's quite comprehensive, and it is right. You know, you've got Intel adapters, and the backplate works with the Intel. The backplate that's already fitted with the two plastic clips that's already on the motherboard work perfectly fine with one of the packets. And as you can see in the instructions, it's not particularly very clear because I'm using the top-down camera, which is a phone, which is okay, but it needs a bit of addressing. But you know, can't do everything at once. So them two clips there will need to come off, because a lot of CPU coolers do clip straight on there, but this one doesn't. And to be fair, the mounting of this is, once I've got it all done, is fantastic. And once we get those off, we can start setting this up to fit this on. Here we are. Touching the radiator quickly, and that dissipates through the earthing system of your house. Now, I have bought as you can see, an electrostatic plug. In UK, you just pop it in the wall. You have a lead that comes off. I can't find. Now, I was actually buying another one because the one that I got was very short and my socket's under the table. Now, the problem is it needs to go into the wall to go into your earthing system. I could clip it onto the radiator because the radiator's earth through the earthing system of the house. But one way or another, you need to dissipate any electrostatic buildup on your hands or anything like that by touching something that's ground to earth. Your best thing is, if you're going to be dealing with lots of motherboards and things, get yourself one of those plugs, get yourself a lead that comes off and it straps to your hand normally. But if you strap it to your leg, doesn't matter where it is, just as long as it's contact with your body somehow. Strap it to your leg, it's out of the way, then it doesn't tie up your hands. Right, here we go then. So for me, we've got the two brackets coming off now. As you can see, just unscrewing those four little screws that's on there. I've got a magnet tray. Does work wonders, them little magnet trays. I'm forever losing something or other. At least I can't lose anything that's metal, he says. So let's go and find which one we need. Through the instructions you can really tell which one's which. In the pictures you can see at the top right hand corner now, they're the ones for the AMD, they're the ones we're going to be installing. On the brackets themselves you can see the two little spigots that the fan cooler is going to sit in. For this you've got 4 little spigots that fit in those screws, or there's the little where we just took the brackets out from, and they've got little rubbers on one side, and they face down basically onto the motherboard so it doesn't scratch your motherboard. You want to put those in finger tight, and then a bit more with your fingers. You don't really need any more than, you know, a good old turn with your fingers. If you haven't really got, you know, strong fingers, you could just nip them up with a pair of pliers, but you really don't need a lot of force with these. Once all those 4 spigots are installed, now we can go ahead and mount the 2 side brackets. It says CPU, and the arrow faces the CPU, where the spigot is as well. It's very unclear, but it's where my finger is now. And you also can see that there's a double set of holes on either side of one of the brackets, and they're labelled up C and D, I think it is, and we're going to be using D, but do refer to the instructions. The left hand bracket is very close to the VRMs and the caps that are sitting on the boards, but there's no potential problems with short circuit or, you know, anything to do with heat effectively. There's enough clearance there, so it's absolutely fine. And the same with these. You want to put them on finger tight to begin with, but these actually have a posi head inbuilt into the top, so you can use your screwdriver, just nip them up. You don't want to give them a really massive crank. You just need them nice and tight, nice and solid. Jobs are good. Give them a wiggle, no problem. They're not going to go anywhere. Fix it all back. There's the back plate that was on about. That's there where them 4 black ends were coming from, and it just makes life easy sticking it on the box and keeping that upright while you're doing this. Let's have a look at this fan. We need to take the fan off to begin with to be able to get the base in, because that is very close to the fan and you're not going to be able to get a screwdriver in there whatsoever. So to take these clips off, you need to push and then pull out effectively, because they're locked into the fins. So you need to do that both sides. And this is what I say, you know, if you wanted to get another fan, you can make it push-pull configuration. Then at the moment this is going to be a push configuration, because it's going to push air through the fins, and then the hot air is going to be go out by the exhaust of the tower. This needs to come off, and I will reiterate this many times, because you leave it on, it will cook your chip. I don't mean your chips in your fryer, I mean your CPU will be adios amigo in the bin. This comes with everything you need to install it. Even comes with its own thermal paste, which is absolutely brilliant, because you don't have to, there's not another expense to get some more thermal paste. Even if you've got your own thermal paste, you know, you might as well use this fresh stuff. It's designed for that CPU cooler, so why not? Right, I'm going to get this kitchen towel down now so I can start getting the thermal paste onto the on the block on the CPU cooler. In the part of the video I sort of start putting the thermal paste on because it was pretty boring. I sort of, the first part is just applying a bit to the middle, and it flicks straight over to the next part, which is covering the complete CPU cooler block at the bottom. You can see now I've took the wrapper off, the sticker off the bottom, just applying that blob in the middle, and then it'll change over. And now I've applied it completely with my finger. As you can see, that's the sort of thing that I always do. Cover the whole complete bottom of it, and you can't go wrong. So now I've finished that, put everything away, get everything tidy, take the gloves off, and it's time to do some installing. The fan's cable is going to be to the right hand side because the fan headers are there, and let's put this bad boy on. So as I say, the 2 spigots coming out from the centre that we seen earlier that I was pointing to, that was a little bit blurry, but we now can fix this on. Always do the same, always with everything till you do with your motherboard, because it is a delicate part. Always start off with just finger tighten the sides down and try and make it as even as possible, because what you want to do is stay away from putting too much pressure on one side. It can damage things in the long run, and let's just come away from that. So as you can see, I was finger tightening both sides. One side got it on, and now what we're going to do is just going to nip each side up with a screwdriver. Once you've got a finger tight a bit, got to do one side, do the other side, and keep repeating that until you get right down to until it gets really tight at the bottom, and then just nip them up again with a screwdriver. And that's the process I always, you know, depending on how it fixes, of course, with my job and things, I always do that with electronics because it's the best thing to do. So why not do this with CPU coolers? It's the most, you know, some of the most expensive parts on the motherboard. So there we go, give it a wiggle, nice and solid, job's a good one. Right, so there's the fan. Well, that's the header for the RGB. Now, I thought to begin with this actually plugged directly into the motherboard, but it's not going to be able to do that. It's actually got a flying lead that connects either another lead with a remote control on it, or the remote control does do the RGB, which is there, or another lead which does plug into your motherboard if it had an RGB socket. However, mine doesn't, so I will need to get a separate fan controller, and everything that you talk about in this video I will link in the description below, so you can make it easy for yourself, and you can see what I've been doing. So the only other thing that I need to sort of have a bit of a look at, you know, I did get some thermal paste on my old table, even that I tried not to. It's normally the case. It's like your dinner, you don't want to get it down you, but sometimes it just doesn't work. Off it goes. Mop yourself up. Easy enough with that Dettol wipe. Make light work of that. Nice and clean and ready to go again. I think that's the easiest thing. Right, now we've put the fan back on, and we've zoomed in a bit. You can see what's going on. We're trying to show the fan headers a bit, but you can't really see them very well because now the CPU cooler is in the way. So I'll try the best as I can. You can just probably see the fan headers there. But there's only going to be one fan header I'm going to be able to use, or a header I'm going to be able to use, and that's going to be for the fan. And so the other one for the RGB header power is not going to be able to be used on this board, as I said before. So I will need to get a fan controller, or like I say, you can use the remote control. Oh, I speak. Now in it, you've got a fair bit of stuff. Some things I probably won't use, like these for instance, cable strippers, not really my thing. I normally strip them with side cutters 9 times out of 10, or some proper side strippers. But there's a fair bit in there. And one thing I do like is there's a pair of side cutters in there, but there's also some side cutters which are for more flush cutting things, like for cable ties, because 9 times out of 10 if you don't get any flush cutters, they leave a bit on your cable tie, which then when you come to try and do something next time, you'll, you know, graze yourself or potentially cut yourself or whatever. So that's made that really pretty nice. And I think the kit was 20 quid. But in there you've got all miniature parts for miniature parts for, you know, tiny screws and things. But it hasn't got anything often what I would call normal size things, you know, this type of affair. And they're very super sharp, these. I like them. So until I really know where this is going to go, you have to come out here. And obviously then I've got to lose all this. And the ideal space would be in the bin, but for me, somewhere near the PSU. But to get to the controller, which is a bit sad, you'd need to, you know, have it on the outside. Really, it was a fairly straightforward thing to do, this. You just need to make sure that obviously if you want to put it on your you know, your motherboard that you need to make sure you've got addressable RGB that supports 5 volts. Unfortunately, I can't seem to find any headers to be able to fit this on, so it's a bit of a shame. It is the X version, so it is, you know, the high-end version. I think that's it. I can't really plug it in yet. I really haven't got a system to plug it into. This is the first system, realistically, that I've got. And I just was fitting this, so I thought I'll just let you guys, you know, come and have a look. Right, take it easy. Don't forget to subscribe, thumbs up, bell notifications. Job's good. Take it easy. Bye.